Here we go. Oh, it's all right. You could say what you. It's all right. All right. Hey guys, look. Well, this is a much better angle. Candice, you're brilliant. All right. So here we go. Welcome to episode 209, people. 209 on July 24th. I'm with Candice Cruz. Candice's story and her bio are amazing, and I'm just so blessed to have you on here. Let us know you can hear us or see us. Give us a thumbs up. Give us some hearts. You're going to want to tune in. You're definitely going to want to. Hey, David, you're going to want to listen to her story. Hey, Ron. So give her some thumbs up. Give her some love. I really just want to make sure you can hear us and see us, because the last thing I want to do is make her come back and tell the story all over again, because we want to move to the next stories. I did that once. That's why I asked them. I actually had somebody who came on live, and for 30 minutes, poor Justin Clark, we did a show and he had to come back and do it. So I think we've got people on. People are saying yes, so we're golden. You guys tell me if you can't hear us or see us. Welcome. Welcome to the show. All right, so she's looking to try to share the show. So I'm going to get a little background as she's doing that. Isn't she beautiful? Look at that. I'm very blessed today. I've had the most blessed day. I have blessed days every day, but today's been awesome. But I saw Candice's story on her Facebook page. She had recently come back from Uganda, and I had already wanted to have her on the show because, hey, Natasha, give us a thumbs up and a heart. I just want to make sure you can hear us and see us. I mean, I know you can't miss me with my tequila-themed jacket today. But I just loved your story, and I love the passion that you told your story with. And so I'm like, I have to have you on the show. So we got a heart, so welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So give them a little background on you. Tell them a little bit about you. Obviously, you weren't born and then you went to Uganda. Obviously, you weren't born and launched Hughes and Beautiful Feet and Beautiful. You had a little bit of a life that brought you somewhere to the point where you decided to make this your life's passion. Shireen says hi. My sis, she says. I love it. All right, so give us some background on you.
Okay, well, let me just say hello, Facebook world. Background. Okay, I always try to minimize talking about myself so that I can get to the purpose,
but
right?
People want, so I'm going to help you. The purpose, but people want to know about it,
yes,
right? Because then they engage more. Then they go, oh my God, she's so cool, and she does all this stuff. I'm in. How can I sign up? How can I help? How can I get involved?
Okay.
That's my experience.
Okay.
You get the TED coaching for the day.
Got you. So I am Jamaican. I have 5 siblings. I had to think about it. 6 siblings. I am the youngest. And
you're the baby.
I am the baby. I moved to Orlando, Florida from New York, and that is where my journey started, was in New York. Not to go too far into it because we have such a short time, but what happened in my life is what propelled me to do the things that I do today.
And so what was the trajectory? What was the change? What propelled you?
Okay.
You can give us a basic. You don't have to. You share what you want to share. You do you.
I mean, okay, so make a long story short, I have an amazing family, a great support system. I love my parents, but I think as we are youth and in going through life, we've probably gone through something. I think all of us have. None of us can escape that. But my journey may have been a little bit different from others, and I found myself at 19 in a really toxic, physically abusive relationship. Because of it, it took me on a path of being homeless with my first son. And in going through that time, there was a lot of situations that I had to endure, but what I love about it is how God still had his hand on me, even in the midst of it. And when I look back on it now, I don't regret it. I wouldn't have changed it because it made me who I'm supposed to be today and the things that I'm supposed to do for him.
Love that. Perspective.
Yes.
Perspective.
Yes. Like I tell people, your purpose is in your pain. Don't run from it. Embrace it and learn how to make it.
Now, were you born, and Carlisa says hi, by the way,
hi.
and Shireen and everybody. Were you born with that? Were your parents like that? Did they instill that in you, or is that something that you feel like God gave you and that was sort of part of your gift to be able to overcome the things that you had to face later on?
I think that was God-given. Ever since a little girl, I never valued things. My parents would buy me clothes and, just the regular things as a little girl. And I used to give it away. I had a best friend at the time, and her name was Melody. Rest in peace, God bless her soul. And she was in the foster care system. So that's how I was actually introduced to that whole world. And I remember advocating. I was about maybe 10 or between 10 or 11 or somewhere in there, and I kept advocating to my parents, can we adopt her? Can we adopt her? Please. Like, this went on for years, and my parents like, no, we already have you. You're enough.
You might be a lot, Candice.
We can't do that. So in them saying no in my own way, she kind of became not just my friend, but my daughter. Like, I became her protector. And I remember the first time that she told me that she was going through some form of abuse at a group home, I actually ran away from home. And I slept 3 days in her closet.
Wow.
And she let me come out during the day to go to the bathroom, but I just wanted to be there to make sure that that person never came in and that person never hurt her. And no one ever came in. And I think that was the beginning of a life that I didn't know that God was doing that. You know what I mean? So the training started from so young.
Sure.
And you don't realize it, but like I always tell people, go back and see what that love is and see what God is doing in your life, because it's always for a purpose.
I feel like kids, so most of the time, I'd say 95+% of the time when I ask that question, it's around that 7 to 12 year range. And something has happened, something's impacted somebody, has gone through something, has experienced something, has been told something, and it changes them, or it empowers them, or both. But one way or another, it makes a difference in how the rest of their life is going to be.
Right.
So you had the strength, you were a protector already, which prepared you for the really horrible time with you being on the street with your son, being homeless.
Yeah, but that I had to go through that, because when I came to Orlando, I kept meeting young women, single mothers that were without, that were homeless, that needed a support. And every time I saw them, I saw myself, because here it is, I didn't come from a bad family, I wasn't abused at home, but life situation had me in a place that I never thought I would end up.
Right.
So when you see people, everyone has a story. We have to be careful not to prejudge them, because we don't know where they've been and we don't know where they're going.
So how does this leap? You're right. We were talking about this earlier at the table too. You have to just don't prejudge. You just don't know. I know it's part of almost how we're taught. We see it on, not how we're taught at home necessarily, but we see it on TV all the time, and it's this natural thing where you're like, oh my God, that person's so-and-so, and I don't want to be around them. So I'm just encouraging you. I'm not perfect at it either, but please don't do it. All right, so you take that though, so you take your pain, what you went through, and how does that become your life's mission? Because you have so much in your bio that you've accomplished, but how do you make the leap? A lot of times people are impacted, they are in a negative situation, and they can never seem to dig out of it. How did you get out of it and make the leap to your first thing that you did, your first couple of things? And I want to get to Beautiful Feet. I want to get to, which I love, I want to get to BUtiful. I want to get to Uganda. So give them a little bit of a background on that.
Okay, so when I went through that in New York, it was actually a store owner in the village that allowed my son and I to stay there. And I was able to go to work at the store during the day, and at night the sales girl would actually watch my son. A lot of people don't even know that, but so what's really cool about that, a show, I won't say what it is because it's still kind of in the working there. They reached out to me and they want to follow and go back to New York, go back to the village with me, contact the owner and have a conversation. So I think that's really cool because
I love that.
Yeah,
that's
I've
awesome.
always wanted to go back and thank him and say, look, you gave me a chance. you know, so, I'm going to get teared
It's
up.
all right. No, you should. It's Gratitude Tuesday. That was what we just did the show. You can cry all you want. Of course, because when you're expressing that gratitude, sometimes it's the first time you've said it out loud. Can you imagine being able to say it to that person? It's so powerful. We talk about it on the show a lot. Say it out loud. Say it to somebody, but definitely say it to the person if you get an opportunity. Look, it's still impactful to her all these years later.
Yeah, because like I said, everyone has a story. You know what I mean? Everyone has a start and everyone has an end. And some people just need a little bit more help than other people. And then what's so great about it is the fact that you don't know what God has for you. So a lot of the things that you go through, it's just your training ground. And as time goes on and you trust him, he's going to lead you into that path, which is what happened. So when I came to Orlando, I would constantly see these girls that needed help, that needed somewhere to live. So I started taking them in. That's how I started. Started taking them to my apartment with my boys. And it was really cool because over the years, I didn't realize how many girls I have taken in and women. So I got a call in from the CFO at the time for Orlando, and I think her name was Sharon Miner. I hope I'm not messing your name up if you're watching this.
She'll be okay.
Okay, so I got a call in to meet with her, and then I had an advocate from DC that flew in that does, nonprofit. And they sat me down at this table and said, you saved the city $3.5 million by housing these girls in this amount of time. And I remember her saying that, and I was like, $3.5 million? I may never even see that in my lifetime.
Right.
But that's when I understood how good God is and what he really does.
Yes,
right? We can all talk about God, but until you see the hand of Christ in your life, you really don't have that one-on-one. And then when I realized that, is this when I said, okay, God, this is bigger than me. And at that point is when I really said yes to wherever this life was going to take me. And so many opportunities came. The next thing was I got invited to the White House. That was the first time I went, and it was
awesome.
Yeah, it was a meeting, and it was 12 black billionaires within the U.S., and they had this huge meeting, and I won't forget that because 2 of the men are actually now my mentors and biggest fans.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, and I only say that to say that when we're obedient to Christ and obedient to our purpose, God puts us in places that we cannot go, that we cannot do ourselves.
Amen.
And that has been the life that has just been kind of going.
Yep.
So when I came to Florida, I went to Pompano Beach, is where I originally went, and I worked for a chemical company. Like, they did aerosols.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
okay,
it was really cool. I'll never forget the name. It's called CPC Aeroscience. They just got a free shout.
They got a free shout out on the TED Show.
Yeah, so I worked there, and I remember going into the warehouse and Open Vision, right? They're real. And I saw my name on the boxes of the shelves, and I was like, wow, what's that? Because I didn't know anything about spray cans, or I didn't get it at the time, but I remember it. I never forgot it. And another time I saw it again, and I just kept seeing my names on the shelves in these boxes and just boxes. And that's when I said, okay, well, I love fashion because, I thought I was going to be a supermodel.
You could be a supermodel. Come on.
I thought I was going to be it, So, and I've always loved making stuff and experimenting, so I figured I was going to make some lipstick. Not a good idea.
Oh.
Yeah. Bombed completely. Made an entire, a literal mess. I actually burned myself. I have the burn to this day, and it went really bad.
You burn yourself? You
myself.
make lipstick with, I'm terrible.
Well, yeah, because it's crayon. And then I tried to put in, I think it was lemon seed oil at the time, but I was missing so much in between.
Yeah.
And then another time, I tried it with cocoa butter. So throughout 14 years of me not giving up the initial vision, because I believe if God allows us to see something, it's yours.
Right.
Period. That's it.
Right.
Stick with it. Right?
Right.
Don't give
No
up.
matter how long it takes.
It doesn't matter. If you see it, it's yours.
I agree.
Own it then. Don't wait till you have it.
I agree.
So I owned it before I had it. I sold it before I made it. So I was already in business 14 years ago, even though I didn't have anything. So time goes on. I bombed. And then I got to the last point and I was like, okay, God, you showed this to me. How do I do this? I had no capital. I had no money. I worked for Golf Week magazine when I moved to Orlando.
Golf Week magazine.
Golf Week.
Is that still around?
No, they sold to
No,
USA
that's
Today.
it.
Yeah, and that was pretty cool. It was a great experience. We met a lot of great people, and so I figured, okay, well, I don't have the money, so I looked and I was like, well, I have to use what I have, right? So I created a cleaning business in Orlando. I know some of you remember me in your house. Thank you. I created a cleaning business.
I don't think I know this part. Is this in the bio?
No, it's not.
Okay,
Not
good.
everything can go in a bio.
I know, right?
You got a professional
Ooh, I got the
bio.
professional bio. That's all right, though.
You're getting the real.
So you had a cleaning company.
I had a cleaning company.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was called High Maintenance Services.
Nice.
And I cleaned homes in Orlando. And when I made enough capital, that's when I stopped and I didn't do it anymore. And I went ahead and I was able to finally get a chemist, get my formulation down right, manufacturing, but I had the funds at that time.
Sure.
I didn't have to depend on anyone.
Right.
So then I was able to actually launch.
I love it. So you launched. What's the name or what?
Beautiful.
BUtiful. B-U-T.
Beautiful.
And what is so is B-U have a
BU.
what
It
is-
does.
Tell us what B-U stands for.
Okay, so through having Beautiful, I really feel that that's the avenue that God gave me to branch out to do everything that I'm doing today because it all works together.
Agreed.
And
I so
BU,
agree.
yeah, BU stands for being yourself, being your authentic self as a woman, being proud of who you are, not without putting on layers, but taking off layers, and let's see who the real person is. So it's be you, beautiful.
I love it.
You know, so it has a real cool.
Is it lipstick? Is it a makeup line? Just lipstick?
It is a full cosmetic line.
Full cosmetic line.
I make everything. I make lipstick, face powders, eyeliner, everything.
Nice.
I manufacture here in the U.S. My manufacturer is in Ohio. I don't use any toxic products, and it's gluten-free. I do not do any animal testing. And I think there's a big misconception, too, that once a product comes out as FDA approved for makeup, that's not true. That's not how it works. So we need to do more research on the things that we're using on our skin.
I totally agree.
Yeah, so...
Because the skin is your biggest organ, right? So you're putting all this stuff on you, whether it's makeup or suntan lotion or skincare, and you don't know what's in that skincare.
No.
You don't pay attention to it, so you have to find companies like BUtiful that do it for you.
Exactly. Excuse me. And when when we looked at manufacturing in other companies, the stipulations are you had to do animal testing. So for instance, we would never be able to sell in a lot of the Asian companies in China because that is their requirement by law.
They require that there's animal testing?
You have to have, your products have to be animal tested. And it's not animal tested in a safe way either.
Well, of course,
it's
that's
a very rigid way. So I always say do your research. You know, Google is our friend. Go on it. Look at what you're actually using and what
do
you're
the
actually
research. So what's your
doing.
website? I mean, we'll post it all later, but what's the Beautiful
It's
site?
www.BUtiful by Candice, BYCANDICE.com.
There you go. And we'll share all that later.
Yeah.
All right, so I also want to talk about, before we get too crazy on time, because I want to talk, I want to get to Uganda. And we'll talk
jump
a little
for
bit,
it.
but I want to talk about beautiful feet.
Oh, the ball.
Because I love the concept of that. When I was reading again this morning with my tequila, what's National Tequila Day? With my alleged tequila, I got teary-eyed because it's such a beautiful concept. Will you tell them a little bit about
Absolutely. So, Beautiful Feet has been, oh my God, it's been my heart's desire from a long time ago. I always knew that I was going to do this but I didn't know in what capacity. So finally one day I said, you know what, I just need to move forward, because I actually did it in another city first. That was how it began, and then I went ahead and I brought it to Orlando. And Beautiful Feet was, I took a lot of the girls that I worked with in human trafficking. A lot were rescued, some that actually lived with me, and then we invited other girls in the community that were either fatherless or just never had that experience before. You know, so I think we had, I want to say it was like 78, almost 80 girls.
And what did you do for the girls?
Okay,
And why Beautiful
so-
Feet? What's the part that's going to get me all teary?
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
Okay, so I went ahead and I rented out 2 suites at the DoubleTree Hotel, because I wanted the day to be all about the girls. I wanted to give them a red carpet experience, something that they've never had before. And it was really important to have officers. So I met with Chief John Meaner, Sheriff Demings, and Cecil Smith of Sanford. And I sat down with all 3 of them and I asked them, hey, can I borrow some of your officers for a ball? And they were just all over it. All 3 of them were like, absolutely. They couldn't see the vision of how it was coming to be, and Sheriff Demings kind of looked at me like, what? You know, but he was all in, so I was grateful for that. So then, so during the day, the girls came to the hotel. I had a room set up for them, so they were able to eat. They got gifts. There was tons and tons of gifts. And Beautiful Feet came in by the washing of each girl's feet. So we actually put them in buckets, and we had a pastor come out and wash their feet to symbolize a new beginning, just as Jesus got down and he washed their feet. There's something so symbolic about that, and it's the ultimate act of humanity, I think, and humility.
Agreed.
And it changed a lot of the girls' lives. Even at that day also, they had gowns. We had gowns in the room.
I love it.
They got dressed in their gowns. They looked absolutely beautiful. And then that night, the officers showed up in their suits, and it was so amazing. And we paired each girl with an officer, and they went in and they were fathers for the evening for those girls. We had officers bawling. I still have officers to this. I have officers to this day that actually are still in the girls' life. They go to their school. They give them gifts. And it was really amazing to see that. And it was important for me to use officers because I needed the girls to be humanized when they see them on the street.
Absolutely.
I needed them to see them as humans, and this little girl could be your daughter or your niece, you know, not to judge. So it was a really great experience,
so
and I will be doing
powerful.
it again soon.
I want to be involved. I think
Okay.
that's so amazing. One of my favorite,
Yeah.
that's one, I mean, I have many favorite scriptures, but one of the things that is just so moving is when Jesus cleans the feet
Yeah.
of the disciples.
Yeah.
And it's just it's so humble. There's just so much humility there.
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, that's such a big, it was a custom back then, by the
Yes.
way. So it's not like it's like today people are like, why would you clean my feet? So do a little research on it. But the custom back then was when somebody came into your house, it was sandy, you were wearing sandals, it was the desert, it was Israel, it was crazy. And so you had your feet cleaned. I think a lot of people don't understand that. But for Jesus to do it, it was just the ultimate of, okay, I'm a man and I am doing this thing that I want you to be clean. There's so many wonderful analogies and messages that he was trying to take or to give. But the fact that you brought the police officers in, because for a lot of them, police officers weren't necessarily their friends, and it wasn't that the police officers weren't, it's just the perception that they weren't. So to bring them in and to have them as their unofficial dates, their dads, their representative, their support system, how powerful.
And I think what was really moving also, we had quite a few girls that were screaming when the officers walked in, because to them that was a sign of, you arrested mom and dad, this happened. It wasn't such an easy, smooth transition. And as the evening went on, I think the officers were so touched by that, especially the ones that were father for the evening, that this girl was like, ah!
Right.
So to see the relationship mature at the end of the night was really, really good, because it does matter, right? So we have all this stuff going on now, but when they're out there and they see an officer, or officers see the girls, it should be a symbol of help.
Correct.
It shouldn't be a symbol of fear, and nowadays it's a symbol of fear.
It is.
So even if we can take that 72 and change that mindset, and the officers that were in that room, it did what it was supposed to do.
I love it.
And we actually
It's
had
amazing.
5 girls that wrote me after and said they were on the brink of committing suicide until that event, that they never felt so beautiful, and they never had anyone treat them like that. And it was great about it. A lot of people said they wanted to know about it, but I didn't want it to make it a media thing, because it wasn't about everyone seeing or everyone being there. It was about the girls, and that's
Sure.
all at the end of the day that it was.
I love
It was
it.
just about
I
them.
think I could find 100 men that would want to be involved in that. So
Well, yeah, contact me,
we
because
will.
we're planning
We will.
another
We
one.
want to help. All right. So before we head out, I want to talk about Uganda. So
Okay.
what Candice has
All right.
this amazing story. Obviously, you've heard only bits and pieces of it, so we'll have her back. But I was super moved recently by the story she was posting after and during, probably it might have been after, but about her trip to Uganda, and everything that she experienced there, because it's life changing. And so what was great about what you were doing, Candice, and what you've done, is that I was feeling it. So what you were sharing, I was feeling the emotion of it. So talk about that trip. We'll go a little long because this is important stuff.
Okay.
Talk about that trip, and then the impact that it had on you.
Okay, so I ended up going to Uganda because I'm a part of an international prison system from the UN. And that's really how it all came to be. So I was invited to work with the children of prisoners that are incarcerated in Uganda. So I got to actually be a part of those organizations. But also in being there, I was able to go to Uganda, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Swaziland, and Mozambique. So it was really a huge experience for me, because I didn't foresee all the others. But in doing that, I was able to go into maximum security prisons, and we were able to talk to the parents about getting their girls out so that we can put them in mission, so they're not have their girls with them. It was really a lot to see, because in Uganda, a lot of the kids, they go to prison with the mom if there's no one back home to take care of them. So that was really heartbreaking, and we wanted to make sure that they felt comfortable enough that their kids were going to be taken care of, and we can take them out of the prison. In doing that, also was able to work with a lot of human trafficking organizations, which is what I do actually here in Orlando. So to see it from that end was truly amazing. And when I went, I didn't do a hotel. I literally stayed with the girls. Like, it was, I didn't look like this. But it was truly a life-changing experience. I don't think I'll ever be the same. I don't think I can look at people the same. My experiences are completely different, because you go on a mission trip and then you see life from another place, and you don't know that this world exists, and you don't see children that are hungry. You don't get to see that. You know, usually when you see pictures of South Africa, which is absolutely beautiful, there's places there that will remind you of the U.S., but the poverty is so much more than the beauty of it. And that's the knit and grit that I went into. And in the village where I actually was most of the time in Uganda, girls are sent out to work as young as 3 years old to be housemaids. In Uganda, in Africa, you have to have school fees. So if you don't have school fees for your kids, they're not going to school. It's a choice of, do I eat or do I educate my daughter? And a lot of the times, that's how the girls are pulled into human trafficking. And they're trafficked places that you probably think are really beautiful. Let's just put it there. And they usually don't come back, or if they do come back, they're missing limbs, they're missing body parts. So they're treated inhumane completely. And
we don't believe that here. So I've been I served on the local board here for UNICEF. I'm part of I'm on the board for the Lifeboat Project, which is local human trafficking. People, we hear about it, but we can't believe that actually goes on, and it's 100 billion million. It's a business that's insane, and these girls are trafficked as early as 3, probably earlier. And you can't believe that a parent would do that. But the culture itself needs to be healed and treated, and we need to figure out how to be more fierce on the trafficking side. But when people hear you say that, I've seen it. Being on the boards, I've seen what happens. People are desensitized because they just don't want to believe that that's actually happening.
Well, I think the thing about it too, for me, it was a real wake-up call. I know that I'm blessed, and I know that God is good and number one in my life, and I don't value too much things with, that's okay if you do, you know what I mean? But I think going and having that experience really changed it even more. Something so simple as a pair of shoes I don't take for granted now. Why do I own 30 shoes? I only have 2 feet. So a lot of that has changed for me. I literally came back and I remember falling out, and I just repented. I think I stayed locked up for about a good 2 weeks. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to communicate because I had to readjust to this part of living after leaving an experience like that, which was not easy. But that propelled me to start a school for girls, and
which is absolutely awesome.
And the name of it is Mukissa Empowerment Center and School for Girls, and Mukissa means blessing. In the village where I was, that's the name that they gave me. So I decided to name the school.
Why did you not cry the whole time?
I did.
I want to cry right now. And I wasn't even there, but hearing you tell the stories.
I did, and having that experience with them was really, really cool. So even before I left, I started looking for property, and we started talking about the plans. And then I got invited to actually meet some of the delegates that were in Uganda, and that's how they asked me to be a ambassador of hope, the hope ambassador for Uganda. So that was really, really cool. But in doing that, we're now working on the school. So we'll start off with 15 girls that we'll take from the village, and we'll partner with surrounding school and place the girls there, make sure that their school fees are paid until we're actually able to finish the property. So we will have girls literally in school by October, and I'm really excited.
Of course you are. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, every time I think about it, I get.
Well, how could you not? Look, what you're doing, you are changing the world. We've just literally, I think we maybe met before, but look, this is the power of sharing your story, being open about sharing your story, because you are impacting the world. You're changing the world. 15 girls at a time, one village at a time, one country at a time, one person at a time. It's such a beautiful gift. You have to know that you are giving back all of the gifts. God has given you so much, and with it, you are doing so much.
And that's the thing too. I want to be responsible with it. I think when we say yes to God, we just want the good and the high mountains, but we have to be able to adapt to those valleys.
That's true.
And we have to know how to recognize them. And even when we're in the valley, there's still something good that we can see. There's still, like my pastor, their sermon was so good, but I remember, so it was just Sunday, and he said, you know what, instead of seeing the fig tree, see the grapes, right? So, yeah, so all week I've been in the hardest situations, like, okay, where's the grape? Where's the grape? Where's the grape? And if we think that way, that's what we're going to have. And I'm a big believer in you attract what you give out. I'm number
100%.
one with that. I think that's how I was able to attract Oprah and the other celebrities that are actually wearing the products. It's nothing that I did per se, but I believed it.
Sure.
And I believed that it was possible, and I actually started to attract that.
Look, it's 1 degree of separation from
It
Oprah
is.
right here.
Well, I do a separation of degree chart. I know a lot of people don't do that, but that's what I
love
do.
that.
Yeah, I do.
You need to come on
actual
and we
chart.
need to talk about that.
Yeah.
I love that concept. That's when you know that's your
that.
power of attraction. That's your.
Yeah.
You're really. I would love for you to. Well, there's so many things I want you to come back and talk about.
So
All
I
right,
do
so
a chart.
let me share. We're going to share all of Candice's contact information, how you can reach out, how you can help with Beautiful Feet, how you can help with BUtiful, what she's doing there, how you can help with the school and all of the other things you're doing. Before I say my comments, are there anything you want to share with them, any parting words of wisdom for them?
Well, I do want to mention one thing.
Please bring it. It's all you. It's your show.
That's really, really cool. So, our campaign. So, we partnered with Greater Orlando Human Trafficking Task Force. The founder is Tomas. Love him completely. He's all for it. But we just dedicated a red lipstick to them, and we're calling it Freedom. And when you purchase one of the HD liquid mats, the proceeds go to their organization to help survivors get it back on their feet,
awesome.
to raise awareness.
That's awesome.
So if you go on the website, you're going to see a link that says Kiss Slavery Goodbye. So you put it on and you hashtag Kiss Slavery Goodbye.
Oh my
so
God,
it's really
I love
cool.
that.
I love that. Yeah.
All right. So any parting words of wisdom?
Parting words. Okay, so here's what I really want to say. I think out of anything that I've learned in my years is love, right? We hear the word thrown around so much. It's like literally watered down. But I want to say what love is not. And love is not a condition or a term. If we decide to love someone, we love them wholeheartedly. If we're saying to ourselves, I'm only going to love you if you do this, if you do that, then you have not found what love truly is. Love really comes from Jesus. It comes from Christ. Until you have that relationship, and hopefully you do. I know you do. That's the type of love that we want to perfect, because we can build walls, and remember, walls are helped to either keep us in or keep people out.
Right.
And a lot of the time we're keeping ourselves in, so we're missing out on a world that God created for us. So much things that can help us grow as people, and we have this wall up thinking we're protecting ourselves. We're not protecting ourselves, we're shutting ourselves in. So just let God use you. Be your authentic self. Don't judge people. Everyone has a story. And don't ever think that you're greater than someone, because it only takes one day to lose everything you have and become a totally different person. So you're never secure in who you are, no matter how much money you have, but you're always secure in Christ when you give Him first.
I love it. She did it. That's so awesome. I don't even know how to follow that. All right, you have been an absolute joy. I mean, you're just the epitome of all things good in this world, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. So much love. You can't make that up. It's palpable. I mean, I want to get involved in everything she's doing. I definitely got teary-eyed. You can't make me cry on this show. But I'm glad that you did, because I think there is so much out there, and what you're doing is you're really trying to make a difference, and you are. So you should give yourself kudos. I'll share all of Candice's stuff. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Last show of the day. See you later at some of the events, but thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for tuning in. Go and support Candice. I'll share all the information. We love you guys. Mwah. Love you.
Bye. Thank you.